Well, one of the things that kind of led me away from the progressives were the immigration issues that we've been dealing with, right? And what happened under Joe Biden, right? So I want to move on to that point because I got a clip here.
Bottom line is when Joe Biden got elected, he said he wanted to fast track 4 million undocumented residents to full citizenship. Black people completely ignored it. I spoke on it. I said, do you know why he want to fast track 4 million? Because he know he's not going to do nothing for us. We ain't going to be motivated to vote for him November. So what he's going to do is have these migrants already set up with citizenship so they can replace the black vote that he loses. The migrants are here for 3 reasons. Replace us at the polls, replace us at the low-end industry jobs, right? See, when Donald Trump said during the debate that Joe Biden is taking black jobs and giving them to migrants, he was correct. When people say, what do you mean by black jobs? Get out your bougie feelings and deal with the reality. They are mostly what? Essential workers, warehouse, trucking, security. And a lot of those jobs are going to who? The migrants.
Yeah.
How's that ring with you? What do you think about what Dr. Umar was saying there, Shaman?
I think Umar was correct. I mean, I remember debating this on CNN. I don't know if it was this year, maybe it was last year when the election was still ongoing, when Biden was still in the race. And I remember looking up the statistics because I had another show the day before where someone said, oh, you're just making this up. They're not taking anybody's jobs. And I said, you're misunderstanding my point. At the time, and this is probably true today, and your audience could look this up, the Department of Labor, when you look at what they classify as lower skilled jobs, Dr. Umar said essential, they classified as lower skilled jobs. The Department of Labor said that when you look at the stats, ethnicity wise, based on ethnicity, I should say, excuse me, African Americans are the largest individuals who do those sorts of jobs. Again, they call it low skill. Dr. Umar referred to it as essential. Behind African Americans are Latinos, and then I think maybe whites, and then Asians, something, and it goes on and on. But the reality is, again, most of those low skilled or essential jobs, depending on your classification, we do consume the vast majority of those jobs.
Right.
Even and I cited this on CNN this year, actually, or last year maybe. And someone from CNN, a Democrat, said to me that I guess I basically wasn't black because I had cited a treatise that Kamala Harris's father wrote in the early 1990s. Now, people aren't aware of Dr. Harris. He's a renowned economist. Now, I don't particularly agree with all of his economic positions and theories. He is more of the left in terms of his economic disposition, but a brilliant man nevertheless, and I would never take that away from him. At the time, he wrote in this treatise, it's not very long, a couple of pages, early 90s, that his concern with mass immigration, legal or illegal, was that you were going to increase competition among black workers for a certain subset of jobs. And he was correct. He was 100% correct. And so when you allow a lot of those people to come in, we don't have unlimited resources. We don't have unlimited jobs. Those people are going to have to compete against someone for something. And they're more likely going to compete against us first before they move up the ladder to compete against others. And so why would I, and you don't have to agree with all of my politics. I'm okay with that, Tim. I'm used to that. But why would I, as a conservative black man, advocate for a policy economically that has the long-term effect of pushing out black people, particularly black men, for work? I would never advocate for that. Now, some people can say, well, those black people should just go get education and then go get the white collar jobs and go work in C-suite, etc. Right. I'd like to see more black people do those jobs as well. But the reality is the bulk of people in our community do not hold those positions. And so the positions that we do hold should absolutely be protected. And I don't understand why anybody would advocate for anything otherwise. It just seems nonsensical to me, and it's a bit ridiculous to me to say, let's keep letting people in legally or otherwise, and not thinking about who are they competing for jobs with. In terms of housing, where they're going to live. We got a housing shortage, whether it's renting or buying. Who are they more than likely going to compete with for those houses? When you look at schools, most of the times our children are in schools that are already overpopulated as it pertains to pupil to teacher ratio, already not written with the best technology, updated school materials. Now you're going to populate those classrooms with even more people who most of the times don't even speak the language. So now that's putting a further stress. I mean, I can go down the line of connecting how this is negative towards us. So for me, I don't support this. And I'll just give you an example. Even with the South African issue, and I tweeted about this on X, and boy, I piss off a lot of my conservative friends. And my point, and I told someone, I said, I don't care that they're white. I don't, that's not my point. They could be from Sweden or London. And I love London. London's a great place with an incredible history. That's not the point. The point is, when you're bringing people into the country, they're going to compete against somebody for something. And whether it's 54 of them, as in the case of these Afrikaners,
right,
or hundreds of thousands or millions, as in the case of people coming across the border to the South, this valuing one American worker and one American family is enough for me to say no. We've had 4 years of millions of people coming into the country. We have to correct that. We have a housing shortage that we haven't accounted for yet. We still really haven't figured out our employment issues and how do we get more Black people to be more skilled, to make more money. I mean, to make more money. We haven't addressed that yet. And not just Black people, they're poor whites as well. I don't want to forget them, because oftentimes I think we forget, just because we have a shade difference, that we're kind of really in the same boat. And sometimes you got to remind people of that, Tim, that we have some shared realities here, right?
Absolutely.
And so why in the world would I advocate for anything that's going to devalue the work of our people who are Americans for some cheap ass labor from south of the border, or hell, anywhere else in the country? I'm not for that. And some people are going to disagree with me. It's not about being xenophobic. It's not about being against anybody. It is about recognizing that we have resources aren't finite. Jobs aren't finite. And we got to prioritize our own people first for those jobs. And the people say, well, Americans don't want to work those jobs.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
I'm from the South. Go to the South, man. Go to any small town in the South, and you'll see the number of Black people who work in those chicken coops or any other manufacturing
hospitality, what have you.
I can go on the line. So this notion that, Americans don't want to work, that's not true.
No.
People say that who've never been to a small town, and you will see a whole lot of Black people working those jobs, young and unfortunately even older. And so again, I'm not going to advocate for something that's going to make it more difficult for those people to earn a living that hell is already hard enough for them to earn. That is just ludicrous to me. And so Dr. Umar is 100% correct. They're going to compete against somebody, and somebody more than likely is going to be us. And again, it's not about being against anybody. I recognize the importance of having some level of migration. I economically understand that, right? But that should be tied uniquely to a certain number, and it should be tied uniquely to certain sectors where we don't have enough of our own people to fill those jobs. But, and there's a caveat to that, Tim, the priority should be making sure to shoring up our own people for those jobs first. And then you numerically say, well, where else do we have deficits? Okay, now we need to bring in migrants to fill those deficits, whether it's low skilled or essential work or technology or whatever the case may be. But we have assured our people first that we have exhausted every attempt to make sure that they're skilled for the jobs. Then we go and bring in other people. That to me is just the way we do this. But I'm not going to advocate for bringing in other people to compete against any American, especially people in our